I don't know if you've ever tried sleeping underneath a herd of buffalo, but that's exactly what it felt like the night we checked into our quiet hotel room. Except these buffalo wore sneakers, traveled in a pack of 6, and seemed to think midnight was the perfect time for an indoor track meet. The ceiling shook, the lights rattled. Something, maybe a chair, maybe a small body, slammed against the floor above, so hard I thought plaster might come down on us. I lay there in the dark, staring up at the ceiling, listening to the chaos, and thinking, so much for a relaxing family weekend. Here's the thing, I can sleep through almost anything. Airplanes, construction noise, even college roommates throwing parties 3 feet from my bed. I've trained myself to tune it all out. But this wasn't about me. This was about my wife. I could tell by the way she kept tossing, sighing, glaring at the ceiling as though sheer willpower could silence the circus above. And if there's one universal truth in marriage, it's this: unhappy wife, unhappy life. It had all started innocently enough. The resort had looked perfect on the website. Glossy pictures of the pool, smiling kids on water slides, families lounging in sunlit rooms. The kind of place where problems didn't exist. The lobby smelled faintly of citrus and clean sheets when we arrived, and the front desk clerk assured us our room was cozy and quiet. Cozy and quiet. I want to frame those words. The kids were thrilled, of course. They bounced onto the bed as soon as we opened the door, wrestling for their spots and laughing like they hadn't just spent 2 hours in the back seat of the car whining about snacks. My wife unpacked with her usual precision, lining up toiletries and snacks, while I flopped onto the bed, stretching out, already imagining the kind of sleep you only get on crisp hotel sheets. Dinner went smoothly. Pizza, pasta, a little too much soda for the kids, but nothing unmanageable. By the time we got back to the room, they were yawning, rubbing their eyes, and I thought, this is perfect. We dimmed the lights, tucked them in, and reminded them to be extra quiet. We're in a hotel, I whispered, so we need to be good neighbors. If only the Buffalo family above us had gotten the same lecture. The first thud came just as my wife was drifting off. I told myself it was nothing. Someone dropping a suitcase. A kid jumping off the bed once before getting scolded. Normal hotel noise. But then came another thud and another. Running footsteps. Doors slamming. Furniture scraping. It went on and on, growing louder, as though the family above us had decided that their Friday night entertainment would be indoor parkour. My wife's face said it all. She didn't speak, but the way she stared upward, jaw clenched, eyes narrowed, made me feel angrier with every bang. Our kids, by some miracle, fell asleep anyway. I wasn't so lucky, or maybe I was too aware of how much this was driving her insane. Because here's the truth. It wasn't the noise itself that got under my skin. It was knowing how much it was bothering her. Every marriage has its pressure points, and I knew this one by heart. If she didn't sleep, if she woke up frustrated, the rest of the weekend would unravel before it even started. So I lay there, stewing. Midnight passed. 1 o'clock. Finally, around then, the stampede above us slowed. The ceiling grew still, the rattling stopped, and my wife's breathing deepened as she drifted into a late, uneasy sleep. When my eyes opened at 5 a.m., like they always do, without an alarm, I was running on barely 4 hours of rest. But instead of groaning or cursing the early wake-up, I felt a spark of energy. A dangerous, mischievous spark. Because if there's one upside to waking up before everyone else, it's that you've got the world to yourself. Quiet hallways, empty lobbies, and time to plot revenge. I slipped out of bed, tiptoed into the hall, and found myself standing at the elevator core. That's when I saw it, the house phone. Beige, ordinary, and mounted to the wall like any other piece of hotel furniture. But in that moment, it looked like an opportunity. I knew the room number above ours. I knew the dialing pattern. 6 plus the room number. Simple. Too simple. I picked up the phone, dialed, and waited as it rang. 5 times. 6. No answer. I almost hung up for good. Almost. But then I thought about my wife's clenched jaw, her sleepless hours, the way she'd looked at me as if I was supposed to fix it. And I thought about the family upstairs, smugly unconscious after ruining our night. So I dialed again. The line clicked, and after a groggy eternity, a voice crackled through. Hello. She sounded half dead, scratchy, confused, the kind of voice you have when someone drags you out of a dream where you were finally getting the sleep you needed. I almost felt bad. Almost. I plastered the brightest, most chipper tone I could muster into my voice. Good morning. This is the front desk with your wake-up call. Are you awake? A pause, rustling the background. Then what? I carried on, relentless. We're so happy to let you know that today, we're offering a special thank you gift for families staying with us. Free breakfast buffet and complimentary admission to the water park. It's first come, first served, so you and your guests will need to claim your prize at the front desk in the next 30 minutes. Another pause. I could almost hear her brain trying to catch up. Oh wait, what? I smiled into the phone. Yes, ma'am, but you'll need to come down right away to secure it. Have a wonderful morning. And then I hung up. The rush that surged through me was better than caffeine. I stood there in the empty hallway, the receiver still warm in my hand, and let out a laugh I had to stifle so I wouldn't wake the whole floor. Now came the best part. I made my way down to the lobby and parked myself in one of those stiff hotel chairs near a fake potted plant. I pretended to be reading the tourist brochures, but my eyes never left the elevators. The lobby was quiet, just a clerk at the desk scrolling on a computer and a maintenance guy pushing a mop across the tiles. The air conditioning hummed softly, carrying the faint smell of chlorine from the pool. And then, pay dirt. 20 minutes later, the elevator doors slid open and out came my upstairs neighbors. A whole parade of them. 6 people, bleary-eyed and shuffling, dressed in that half-awake combination of pajamas, sweatpants, and rumpled t-shirts. Their hair stuck up at odd angles, their faces pale with exhaustion. The mom led the charge, kids dragging behind, a dad who looked like he hadn't processed reality yet. They didn't even look at anyone. They just marched straight to the desk, fueled by that tiny flicker of hope I'd planted in their heads. I could hear the mom's voice before I saw her face. We're here for the breakfast and water park passes. The wake-up call told us to be here in the next 30 minutes. The desk clerk blinked, clearly confused. I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't know what you mean. The call this morning, she snapped, her voice rising. You people called us and said we had to come down right away for some special offer. Free breakfast buffet, water park tickets. You said it was today only. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. The clerk looked utterly lost, glancing around as though maybe his manager had set up a surprise promotion he hadn't been told about. Ma'am, he finally said carefully, we don't have any offers like that, and we don't do wake-up calls unless a guest specifically requests one. The mother's face turned a deeper shade of red. Well, someone called us at 5:30 in the morning. We didn't imagine it. The kids slumped onto the lobby couches, still half asleep, yawning, scratching their heads. The dad muttered something under his breath, rubbing his eyes. The poor desk clerk tried to explain again, insisting no such promotion existed. The exchange went in circles for a good 5 minutes, with the mom demanding to see the manager and the clerk swearing he had no idea what she was talking about. I sat there, pretending to read about local hiking trails, savoring every second. The mix of anger and confusion on their faces, the way the staff scrambled to smooth things over. It was all better than I'd hoped for. My heart raced with the thrill of it. Finally, reality sank in for them. No free buffet, no park passes, just a prank. The mother's shoulders sagged, the dad muttered, "Unbelievable," and the kids whined about being tired. The whole defeated troop shuffled back toward the elevators, muttering to each other in frustration. The desk clerk shook his head, still baffled. I folded up my brochure, strolled out of the lobby, and made my way to the coffee shop down the block. The morning sunlight hit my face, warm and golden. I ordered a large cup, leaned back in my chair, and thought about how sweet revenge could be when served at 5:30 in the morning. By the time I returned to the hotel, the family upstairs had gone silent. Not a single bang, thud, or slam echoed from the ceiling. It was as if the buffalo herd had packed up and wandered back to the plains. My wife slept in until nearly 9, blissfully unaware of the little war I'd waged on her behalf. And that was the best part. She never asked why the upstairs neighbors had suddenly quieted down. She just smiled, stretched, and said, "Finally, some peace." I sipped my coffee, nodded, and decided she didn't need to know. By mid-morning, the resort was buzzing again. Families heading to the pool with towels draped around their necks. Kids clutching inflatable tubes bigger than they were, parents balancing coffee cups in one hand and sunscreen in the other. It was a cheerful chaos, but somehow the family above us seemed to vanish into thin air. Maybe they stayed in their rooms sulking. Maybe they went out to recover from their early morning humiliation. But one thing was clear. They weren't stomping around overhead anymore. The quiet was golden. My wife stretched on the bed with a smile I hadn't seen the night before. The kids, well-rested and in good moods, were already begging to go down to the water park. And me? I sat there with my coffee, feeling like I just pulled off the most perfect, victimless crime. What struck me wasn't just that the noise had stopped. It was that the balance of the universe had been restored. The night before, I'd felt powerless, lying there while they turned their room into a construction zone. But now I'd even the score without ever raising my voice, without knocking on their door, without involving hotel management. A simple phone call, a cheerful lie, and justice was served. The best part was watching the ripple effect. They weren't just annoyed, they were embarrassed. I could picture them trudging back up to their room after the front desk told them no such offer existed, probably snapping at each other about whether the call was real or whether they'd misunderstood. Maybe the dad accused the mom of dreaming it up. Maybe the kids whined about getting dragged out of bed for nothing. Either way, they'd think twice before holding midnight gymnastics practice in a hotel room again.